right.
Yeah, so tell us, Dutch, tell us.
So we were in the team meeting. This was during the week, right? And basically Mick was showing vision of him running off the line from centre half forward, running off the line and beelining players off the line. The first week he just missed the guy, and the next week he actually injured a guy and did his AC joint. So he just said, I just want to make sure that, number one, Ryan Loney, don't let him run off the line, probably the worst bloke in Australia to give him that job. And then he said, anyone that sees him trying to charge at one of our players, make sure you protect your teammate. Anyway, I thought nothing of it because I think I was half asleep, to be honest, during that meeting. And Scotty Burns came up to me pre-game and he tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, Dutchy. He goes, you're starting on the wing, aren't you? I go, yeah, on Cooney. He goes, yep. If you see him running in off the square, make sure you meet him halfway. That was his exact words. And so on game day, there we were. I was bumping into Cooney pre-game, bumping, fired up, elimination final 2006. Game's on the line. There's no tomorrow. I run in, watching him. I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to get him. He gets a bit closer. I'm thinking, geez, he's getting a bit closer here. Surely not. And bang, I got him. And that was it, basically. And that was the true story. So it really wasn't my fault. It was Burnsy's fault.
And Mick's.
And Mick's as well.
You were the victim, and now you're going down in history as the bad boy.
Yeah, no, I'm going down as a bad boy. All I was trying to do was protect my teammates and doing what I was told, pretty much.
Brilliant.
You know, so
Sorry, we got you here. We got you.
Competition will never be the same when episodes drop every single Tuesday. They're on a mission to bring footy news, plenty of laughs and guest interviews. All the others are slow, but they're coming fast. When it's all said and done, they'll be number one. The rest are coming in last. Number 1 Footy Podcast is here for you. Number 1 Footy Podcast.
G'day guys, and welcome to episode number 2 of the No.1 Footy Podcast. I think I might have missed the memo here. What are you guys doing?
Joe, did you not see Camden McIntosh on the weekend?
Camden
that
McIntosh.
shiny bald head with the headband.
Yeah.
He
Headbands are
looked
back.
magnificent. Didn't he look magnificent?
Headbands are back. Not since the Flying Dutchman have we had the nice thick headband. I think Marby Chol was wearing one as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it was black and very thin. One of those horseshoe ones.
Oh, no, we need the real deal thick. I love what McIntosh did. Bring the headband back. It just reminds me of Bruce Toole.
What other players have had headbands over the journey? There's been a few, hasn't there?
Well, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, Dutch. I mean, I think I remember the ones you're talking about.
Well, Bailey Smith wore one on the weekend too, didn't
Did
he?
he?
At Geelong.
Oh,
yeah,
mate.
he had the white one. It was literally like a Pat Cash type.
Yeah, he
one.
thinks he's the Karate Kid
yeah,
going
he-
around
geez,
with
he
that.
played well
Cobra
too.
Kai.
Cobra Kai,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Great series.
But in my day, in the noughties, the guys were wearing. Jess Sinclair had one, the shoelace. Remember the shoelace?
Yeah,
You put
those
a bit
ones,
of shoelace
yeah.
and you tied up the back. He had the dreadlocks. I think Shawnee McManus had one at one stage. I think we had about 30 blokes with ponytails or headbands at Fremantle.
Wouldn't surprise
All
me.
Surfy dudes. Were better
Clive,
surfers
did
than
Clive ever wear
footballers.
one? Did Clive wear one?
Clive Waterhouse.
Clive
no.
Waterhouse.
He just had the mullet down the back, so he didn't really need the
didn't need
headband.
one.
No.
They're all over now at the Cats. I swear every second player at the Cats, blonde hair, blue eyes, horseshoe on the headbands. It's like it's the magic
surfy
power.
dudes down that way, Torquay and the like. There's
Absolutely.
some good surf down that way.
I'm surprised Dangerfield is
why
not
they-
rocking one.
Yeah, that's why they want to get down there.
I think it is.
lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It is.
Mate, it was good to have you guys back. Thank you so much for joining us for week 2. We are the No.1 Footy Podcast, and it was a big week of football that we've just had. None bigger. A nice, strong bounce back for you boys, Dutchy, on the weekend.
Right, I must say I'm pretty excited about the way they went. I was critical. of a few of the players. I was critical of Fly.
You gave him some tips, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I did have a chat with Fly and gave him a little bit of advice during the week, and he followed me up with a little thank you too, I might add. Yeah,
Nice.
actually, do we want to go have a look at that
Sure,
now?
why not? Yeah.
Get that up.
Hello. Who's this? No thanks.
Who? Craig who? Oh, sorry, Fly. How are you, champion? Oh, congratulations on the win, mate. No, mate, that's absolutely fine. Anytime you want advice or a sounding board, just give us a call, anytime. Yeah, I know. Well, the Pendle thing worked a treat, mate. I told you it would work. It sent a message. I mean, you can't rely on him forever, number one. Second to that, it scared the absolute bejeebies out of Sidebottom. All right, we scared him into getting 31 touches and getting a BOG. It was the perfect play. Yes, and what about the other thing? Remember? Get Membry close to goal early in the game. Yes. No worries, mate. Anytime. The one thing that I do want to know is what happened to Ed Allen? I told you, stick him in the middle and let him go to work for the remainder of the season. The kid needs to be exposed to AFL game time as much as he can in 2025. No. I said less pink salmon, not less Ed Allen. Remember we were talking about diet? Remember we were talking about gym and health? You wanted to bulk up, you didn't want to be stood over like you did against the Giants with Kingsley. Remember? And I said we were going through all the different types of food, and I said don't eat pink salmon because it's got the pink dye in it, it's not good for your health, remember? Oh, mate. You've got to get your ears checked, Fly. Yeah, well, I know it was either Long or Allen. You're probably right. You know, the balance of the side says it's either Long or Allen. But I would have gone with Allen. Yeah, I know he's had 24 touches. But Ed probably would have had 44 touches out there Saturday night. I mean, even I would have got a kick out there Saturday night. I probably would have kicked another 8. Oh, you remember that game, do you? Really? Thanks. Yeah. Bulldogs this week? Yep. I think we'll just comfortably get this one done. I'll ring you later in the week. We'll have a chat about it. Let me just dissect a few things and come back to you. If I can tell you one thing, make sure the boys see the vision of Dutchy running through Brett Montgomery in the 2006 elimination final. That'll get the boys fired up. And make sure Maynard's not in the room. He'll be over the top, all right? He'll probably kill someone on the weekend if he sees that vision. All right, mate. We'll talk later in the week. All right, I'll come up with a plan. And we'll go from there. Good man. See you, Flight. Cheers, anytime.
Good on him to call back. I love it how you thought he was a telemarketer at first.
Yeah, I know. I'm not big on those calls when you get the 07 319 316 numbers that come through from Newtown in Geelong. But no, it was good to have a chat with Fly. What a great guy. You know, what AFL coach takes a call from an ex-player and takes advice on and takes it well and implements it, and they win, and they win well.
They win well. I mean, they absolutely flogged them. They were the biggest winning team, weren't they? 91 points, was it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
when you look at some of the stats, like Pies were plus 17 in inside 50s, turnovers, so plus 13 in turnovers, contested marks, they were plus 9, can you believe that? Port only took 2 contested marks for the game.
Jeez.
And Port were minus 26 in tackles. So it was the opposite from the week before with GWS Giants. Collingwood really struggled to put pressure on consistently, and they just came out frothing, you know, and they knew that they had to. MCG, different ball game at the MCG, we know that. More space to contend with. But the Triple M's, they got the job done.
I was going to say the Triple M's finally.
They kicked 10, and that was one, obviously, you know, I helped with Membry, make sure he gets... He got pushed forward early in the game and kicked 3 goals in the first quarter. But what a sensational game. I'm actually spewing that I didn't go to the game, but it was... I wonder if Kane thinks that maybe they might make the top 8. Do you think?
Oh, what? Did he say they're not going to make the 8?
Apparently he said they're not going to make the top 8. I think he will stick to his guns, but I'll tell you what, geez, they're looking pretty ominous. You would think they might sneak into 7th or 8th, worst case scenario, wouldn't you think?
Worst case scenario, Dutch. But I was really impressed with the use of Scotty Pendlebury. We spoke about him last week.
Yes.
Now, is it a case of managing an older body and using him as an impact player? Is that what you think the role is for
they're going to
him?
continue using him. I just think at various stages of the year, like if you're slightly out of form or you're, you know, like at the end of the day, he's 37 years of age, like, you know, and that's the thing. It shows, it sends a bit of a message to the group going, you know, we're here to win and we don't care who you are and what your name is. At the end of the day, we just got to manage the group as best we can, keep our older guys fresh and get them in at the right time. And if Sidebottom or Pendlebury has to miss a game here and there because of that, then so be it. And Sidebottom played absolute blinder on the weekend. Maybe he was scared for his life, thinking that I'm going to be next if I don't get a kick tonight. And he got a kick. He just didn't get a kick. He was probably near BOG.
That was brilliant.
You guys were slow and against the Giants, but it was an entirely different story. And I feel like, as you say, Kane, you weren't at the game, but I think Kane might have avoided that game as well. And I don't think he'll be watching the replay very closely either because, geez, that succession plan is coming through beautifully, I think, at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. That's right. But we did have the jumper, guys. We've got the jumper to give away. So we just want to make sure we've got Corey O'Farrell won the jumper. All
Congratulations,
right, so
Corey.
If you want to know what actually was said, Kane Corns, remember, let's go, show the vision.
Get the video up.
Kane, obviously, I said something to him. Actually, I said many things to him during that, but there was one thing in particular that really got up his goat. All right, there was one thing in particular, and I threw it out on social media and asked the question to the people, what did I say to him to make him so angry? All right, there was a few good ones. What did Sarita say? My own wife said, I've killed better somethings than you. I don't know where she got that from. But Corey O'Farrell, he got it right. And what did I say to him? It was something very,
you had to give out a clue.
Very unoriginal. Yeah. And I just said, mate, you're only on the list, you're only in the team because of your old man. That is it.
What a sledge.
Mate.
Right up there with the greats.
I was happy to sledge. I like sledging, but geez, I was really bad at it.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's got to be an art form to this.
Yeah.
Who were some of the great sledgers you reckon that you've encountered in your footy career?
Look, Michael Voss was a good sledger.
Of course he
was.
was.
He was a very good
was
sledger.
great.
He's the absolute. Sam Mitchell was a very good sledger. He was nasty.
Yeah, he's a prick.
He was a nasty piece of work. I do like you, Sam, but he was and it's part of the game. I mean, it's probably the only part of the game where you can probably get a bit of an advantage from an intimidation point of view because you can't go around knocking into blokes anymore behind the play or whatever the case may be. But a little bit of this, if you do it well, you can really get on top of the opposition.
Get into their heads.
Yeah.
Yes.
'Cause sometimes it's a mental battle, Dutch, as you know.
It is.
Right? So if you can get in there early,
It
plant
is.
a seed of doubt, goes a long way to winning games of footy.
Mate, well spoken.
No, I'm
You're
telling
a
you.
very good coach.
Oh, yes, four-time premiership coach.
Four-time premiership coach, if you don't mind. But honestly, Vossi, he was a great sledger.
He was,
And he was
yeah.
great at talking and can get into people's ears. How much talking do you think was going on in that Carlton-Richmond game on the weekend? You would imagine, I think, there'd be a bit of young bucks, some young cubs up the
I don't
Tigers.
think Richmond had to say too much, to be honest. I thought they'd just let their pressure and their footy do the talking. They just went about their business and they had a bit of fun, didn't they?
Oh, jeez.
What about young Campbell and the backflip too? That was amazing. He's a Tassie boy, by the way. Did
That
you
was
know
a beauty.
That?
No, I
He's
didn't
a
know
good Tassie boy from, I think, Burnie up the northwest coast. But that backflip was amazing. But geez, deep in the last quarter, Cowan couldn't go with him.
No.
Could he? Did you see?
That was
he just couldn't
unreal.
go. He was quick and he's fit and
That
he
one
he
out
was
the back
still,
in that last quarter.
He was still
Correct.
running on top of the ground with
Unbelievable.
only a few minutes to go into the last quarter, and that was impressive. And to be able to actually do a backflip like that, surely he would have been tired at that point in time.
I mean, 41 points up. Like,
Oh, jeez.
what are these worrying signs already? Do you think for Carlton? Are we worried too soon, or is this legitimate? Are they going to dish up the same stuff they've done for the last?
I think the worrying sign for me is when you look at the way they played, there was nothing new in their game plan. They still look like they're putting all their faith in their tall forwards. They're turning and going in quick with not much thought. A couple of times they spot kicked inboard. There was no blocking for tall players. At ground level, there's no engaging body. Everyone was flying for marks. Curnow wasn't down there, which didn't help. And they were just, it seems to me they're just relying on just ability to get them over the line rather than strategically. I'm not sure what they're actually trying to achieve. You can't see it. Mind you, I probably dropped 7 or 8, or I think Haynes dropped 7 or 8 marks.
Oh,
And
jeez.
McGovern dropped a couple as well. And he played a good game up until the last quarter, but he turned the ball over 3 times in the last quarter, which cost them a couple of goals, which really hurt them. So I think there's some worrying signs, but when you bring Curnow back in, it just changes everything pretty quickly. And as you know, you find a way to win next week, and things can change pretty quickly, like Collingwood.
It must be frustrating being a Carlton supporter, having so much talent on your list and just not being able to find. how to gel that and make it work. I mean, how many years they've been through different coaches. The list has always been pretty strong.
Yeah.
And and obviously saying that.
My mate Brendan Bolton was the coach of Carlton, and I actually sat down with him, and it was really interesting some of the things he said. I mean, he had $2 million he could have spent in the cap in his last year coaching, and the club weren't allowing him to use that money because they wanted to save the money for the next few reasons, bank it, and then find a couple of superstars at the right time, and they couldn't find them that year, so they banked it and they went again. But $2 million can save a AFL senior coach's career when they lost 5 or 6 games under a goal that year.
Jeez.
So
it could be a cultural issue. Is that what you're saying? It's a little bit, not so much the coach, the players, it's what sits behind. Does this happen at footy clubs that you're aware of, Dutch?
It's a tough game, though, isn't it? We're very critical. You know, like, are they that much better than everyone else, like we've been talking about? Yeah, they've got 2 big forwards. You know, they've lost a couple of good players. I mean, it would have been nice if Jagger Smith had been playing. For whatever reason, Walsh isn't playing well at the moment. It's hard to put your finger on with Carlton. Maybe it is cultural.
It could be.
Maybe
one
it's just
dick pick too many, perhaps.
Maybe. I'm not sure what it. I don't know what it is, but they're not playing very well, and they just didn't connect well the other night.
Yeah, absolutely. And a team that did connect really well on the weekend was on the Friday night. So the Thursday night, we had that round opener between the Blues and the Tigers. Friday night, it was the Essendon Bombers up against the Rampaging Hawks. My boys, and boy, did the umpires wind me up, Coach. They wound me up, but you were there too.
I was. It was the line in the sand game. You know, I mean, the Hawks and the Dons, they've been, those 80s grand finals, there was always biffs. Yeah, that goes into the line in the sand. Then you got the Lloyd and Sewell incident, and I wanted to bring that back. So I went down to the G to try and invigorate a bit of life into the stadium, and this is what we did. Yes, we're here at the MCG, and we're going to be recreating the line in the sand game today. Come and have a look at this. Here we go. This is the line in the sand. 3, 2, 1.
Fight! Fatality. Finish him.
Well, that was some hard hits. The line in the sand is well and truly alive. Back to you fellas on the pod.
No.1 Footy Podcast.
Mate, that looked really fun. I'm glad. I love the kids getting involved there. Mate, you got to get them when they're young. You got to get
mate. Plant the seed young.
I do have to say something though. There was a post that I did see, and I want to go into our little WhatsApp chat just to make sure that I get this going. I want to have a chat about the Essendon players that have been drafted. I think it's a really good discussion in the guys that they've drafted over the last few years. And a couple of them I really like, to be honest. But there are 5 players on this list, all right, that they've picked up pretty low. You know, we're talking first rounders here. Nick Cox at 8, that's 2020. We've got Archie Perkins at 9, 2020. Zach Reid picked 10, who, you know, like a lot of talent, but didn't play too well the other night. Hobbs at 13, 2021. And Sardis as well, who was pick 5, by the way.
Yeah.
And 2022. Out of those guys, you know, you expect them to come up and play well pretty quickly when you're a top round draft pick, first round draft pick, sorry. Out of those guys, who's an elite? Is anyone elite out of that group? I mean, you've watched every single game.
You can't call any of those players elite.
I think we've seen flashes of brilliance.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
But we're not seeing that consistency.
Yeah,
who's potentially an elite player on that list?
I'd say Zach Reid. He only played his 10th game on the weekend. His body's let him down tremendously to this point. So I think Zach Reid could be our Harris Andrews moving forward, someone that he can look to aim to get.
Yeah.
I think Archie Perkins
I actually think Hobbs is your best bet on that list to play 200 games. He, to me, looks like your Taylor Adams type, who's not necessarily flashy. He's not an elite kick, but he's tough and he wins a
Reliable.
footy. Yeah. Reliable. He'll play 200 games and he'll be a real consistent performer over the years, I feel.
Well, you'd hope so because the midfield is a spot that the Bombers seem to have quite a few midfielders fighting for very limited spots and unfortunately doesn't have a lot of outside games. So whether or not Brad Scott rates him enough is going to be the big question because
Yeah,
you know
true.
we let go
True.
of Stringer, so that's a big name, and I think we're going to give Perkins some of that responsibility.
Number
so.
6 is a gun. What's he? Number
Jai
6.
Caldwell.
Caldwell.
Yes.
I always watch the number 6s. You know, and he's a star. What do you have? 36 on
He
the
was
weekend. He's
brilliant.
tougd, inside, outside, can move.
He kicked
He's
the
got
goal
he's
as
got a nice
well.
10 on him at the moment too.
And what about the highly anticipated debut of Isaac Kako?
Oh, we went wacko for
Wow!
Kako.
What about that first
goal
goal? When he kicked off the ground.
Mid-air,
That was
bloody,
unbelievable.
just brilliant.
Yeah.
He was
could
really
be
He's
something.
exciting.
He's
He's
exciting.
exciting. There's something about him, isn't there? Is it Tip and Woody sort of feel about him,
Absolutely.
really, isn't there?
Yes,
Really?
correct.
And what about his family in the stand?
Oh,
They were like
emotional.
Oh,
He's a
it
right
was,
in,
it was
right in every
full on,
kick.
wasn't it? I was in tears just watching them. Like every
Yeah.
moment, the camera was just whoosh.
Did you
straight
get
up into
that
the
at
stands
your games, Dutch, with your family? Like when you know, at Tassie, you'd have your uncle and your auntie and your mum
Usually
and
just
your
mate,
dad
just-
and your
just usually your
stepsister
mate. Oh.
and your
and your dance
and your
partner.
dance partner and your dog, all the family together.
Oh, the half of Tassie would be there and related to every single one of them.
And Richo as well, perhaps, would come in a little bit later.
You guys are so funny. Come on, no more Tassie jokes, all right?
Mate, we're as original as your sledging ability.
Yeah. We're just proof that South Australians can swim. Or is it the other way around? I don't know.
Mate, you were crying every time the cameras went to Kako's family. I was crying every
Yeah.
time the umpires decided to get involved in our game because
Yeah.
honestly, we got absolutely this fly. Gee whiz.
I'd actually like. I want to clarify. In
Fly
talking about
McRae.
some of those umpiring decisions, is the one where he handballed over the line. I'd like to please explain from the umpire division because. Are you allowed to handball? He was under severe pressure.
Severe pressure. He was
Yeah,
getting tackled.
so they were saying, have they come out and said because he fell over, that was his prior opportunity to get rid of the footy? Is that what they're saying?
Well, they're not actually
Yeah.
explicitly saying that the falling over was the prior, but they're saying that he
Yeah.
had prior, and unfortunately, when you fall over, I don't think you
I
have
thought
prior.
I thought he was under pressure when he fell over.
Correct.
And then when you're falling over, you know, I mean, it's just bad luck, obviously, but. Mate, the bloke nearly stood on his head by the time he got rid of the ball
exactly.
over the line.
Exactly.
Surely, under that sort of pressure, you're allowed to move it over the goal line. But anyway,
Agreed.
that's the way
We
it
need some
goes.
more clarification on that.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
the other one was the Draper one on day when
Oh,
he came
that
over
was
the top,
pathetic.
and I just go, "That's a beautiful spoil," and they go free kick, and we're just going, "Yeah." So if that game had been a bit tighter, 2 or 3 goals tighter, at the
Yeah.
right, you just never know what might have happened because they had control late in the game.
We were
Yeah.
down to 16 points when these
Yeah.
2 free kicks came in.
Yeah.
So what could have been?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think we're going to beat the Hawks, especially when we lost Ridley to concussion. We can talk about Jack Scrimshaw there with that sort of action.
Oh yes,
You
that
know,
was one the umpires did get right.
Yeah,
Yes.
3 weeks he got
Yeah.
for that.
Oh,
But his contesting.
Yeah, I think it's at least a tour for me. Once you swing the arm and you get someone high and someone goes off with a concussion, it's all over. So it was obviously graded the right way, and if it gets downgraded and he gets 2, then that's probably not far off either.
I mean, if Tom Lynch got 1 for that bump,
Yeah.
then... And you probably got some harder bumps at
That's a
Revs.
classic shirt front that they don't want in the game. They're just completely outlawed years ago.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, going back to the Montgomery one with me, like we didn't even know. We still thought we could shirt front players back then.
Wow.
And you
We-
should have been able to.
Yeah, we that was that was in the rule book.
Part of the game.
You know, like if it's within 5 metres,
You should do that at school at recess.
Yeah. So you can hit them up and down as long as you don't get them in the head. You know, you can.
What
but you
about-
can't do it anymore.
What about young Archer's hit on the
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I think he is.
Kangaroos we're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
he's a culprit of his old man. I think he's just basically they've just put a line through him and said, "Mate, he's an archer. He was trying to kill him. See you later, son."
The sins of the father have been passed down. Is that what it is?
It must be, because I don't see any malice. in there
It's a tough
personally.
one. It's either. Who knows what was going on in his head? Only he knows. All right. It was either he had no awareness whatsoever, or he was trying to kill him. There was no other 2 things.
Well,
there was no other thing he was trying to do.
He did get him with his shin bone.
Yeah.
Shin boner.
Oh,
See what I did there, boys? Yeah.
see?
Shin boner of the
very
century.
And you
Well,
say,
he
he's
nearly
not
killed
funny.
his own teammate. He wasn't far away
I
from
don't know
killing
what he
his
was
own
thinking.
teammate there
Yeah,
as
it was
well. Yeah,
kamikaze.
But he could have got a free kick for contact below the knees.
yeah.
So he
Yeah.
could have. Imagine he got the free
Yeah,
kick for that.
the only thing is the player, the other
was
North
the other
Melbourne player,
player, yeah?
kind of pushed him down But if you watch it in slow-mo, there is an argument to say the player should have come up with the ball. He should have come up with the ball, and maybe Archer was expecting to come up, and I'm just going to lace him with a huge tackle, and then he just fell on top of him because he stayed low. He stayed low. So
Milliseconds in this game. It's a game.
Sometimes
it
comes down to the player with ball in hand and the decision that he makes, or whether he's strong enough to stand up, or whether he goes to ground. And that's the unfortunate thing about the modern game.
Yep.
And some of the best players are the ones that keep their feet. They don't go to ground. They stay involved in the play.
That's right.
And we've got a question because you put it out on the Instagram, did you, Dutchy? Put up a question.
We did.
You want some people to send through some questions. And I know one of these questions really caught my eye, and I think that you'd be keen to talk about. From Tone Panache on Insta. Brodie, which juniors at the Pies do you think will become regular seniors?
Ooh.
Yeah, well, obviously I like Ed Allen. He's a bit of a favourite of mine. There's a few good players down there, and Ed Allen's my favourite. Obviously, Longy went well the other night, so he's only 21, 22, which I didn't even realise. And he had 24 possessions the other night, and he was pretty good around stoppage. The problem is they're very similar, aren't they, Ed Allen and Long? They're sort of big-bodied mids, and they're not overly quick. But they're fit and they read the game really well. So they're two players that I really, really like at the moment. So I'm really keen to see what they can do over the coming weeks. And there is a bit of youth. There's a couple of tall blokes and ruckman in the reserves at the moment that are coming through as well that look likely types. So, yeah, there's a bit of talent there. There's a bit of speed on the ball. They like their quick players down there, quick speed. A little bit like Richmond, what they're trying to build. So there's a bit of talent there. We'll see how we go. And the young fella West from South Australia, key forward, he's a star in the making. They reckon he's like a mini Jonathan Brown. So just keep your eye on him. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Hot tip from the Dutchman.
Yeah.
There's also a guy in WA that caught your eye, didn't he? A guy from WA.
Yes. The guy without a first name.
Correct.
What's his name? Murphy Reid.
That's the one.
Murphy Reid for the Dockers. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was saying to you boys before, like, if you're going to play footy, give yourself a first name. And if you're going to call yourself something, call yourself Gary, because I think it's a good footy name. But no, he was brilliant. 4 goals. Was it 4 in like 4 minutes or something?
6 minutes or something.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
4 in 6 minutes. Unbelievable. He put them back in the game, didn't he?
Absolutely.
He did. I mean, the Cats then went off and obliterated them, but
yes, correct.
Murphy Reid, brilliant debut, son.
You don't see that very often. How many players have kicked that many goals in their first game? Like, can you remember back
I'm just trying to think now for you, Dutch.
I think Nick Martin a couple of years.
Scotty Cummings kicked a bag in his first game. I reckon he kicked 7 or 8, in his first game.
For Essendon against Port Adelaide.
Yeah. And I think I kicked 8 goals in my 43rd game, I think it was.
Oh, who was that
against West Coast Round 2, 2002. I don't know if you remember that.
No,
Yeah.
That was good work.
Good game. Jeez, I guess we're going to be hearing about that game quite a bit, I think, during the course of this season. But it's all right. So, yeah, a lot of excitement. The better read, one might say. He definitely was able to hold his feet a bit more. Jeez.
Better read?
Yeah, the better read. Because the
Harley
other one
Reid.
of the Harley.
Harley
Phil.
Brodie.
Phil Reid, sorry.
Harley.
There was a bit of carry on, wasn't there, in that game? There's a bit of argy-bargy, a little bit of push and shove.
But
not
they're
too much in
targeting.
it, but it was a bit of sledging once again. Harley's he's an angry unit.
He's a big boy, but they're targeting him, Dutch.
They're targeting, they
what are you
are.
supposed to do?
Trying to niggle him,
What do you do as a youngster? You've got to give them back, otherwise they walk all over you.
Yeah. That's what they do to try and frustrate you, and you got to keep calm, stay controlled. And like if you're not in control, you lose your what, and then there's no coming back from that, and you can disrupt the whole team and the momentum within the team on any given day.
And he dropped down like a sack of potatoes. Unfortunately, a little bit softer. He didn't lose his.
He did. He went down.
He went down pretty easily. So Harley, you're gonna if you want $2 million a year, mate, you gotta keep on your feet.
And look, he's under pressure now. Like I know he's only in his second year and he had a good year in his first year, but second year blues they come around.
It's real.
He could go from being a player that's worth $2 million a year to 600,000 pretty quickly
Yep.
if he doesn't get this right. And still good money, by the way. But that's the difference between him, working really hard and becoming an endurance athlete and taking his game to the next level and goes, everyone wants him, versus, hang on a minute, this bloke gets frustrated, he gets angry, he fires back, he's not fit enough, they get under his skin, and he's too easy to combat. So he doesn't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
He wants to get better, get fitter, keep working on his game. And look, I'm sure he's going to be a superstar, but he's just going through. Look, and every young bloke's been through it, really. Even Dusty had those troubles early in his career before he became a star, and everyone's been through it, and he's going through it now. So it'll be interesting to see over the next, this season and beyond, how he sort of reacts to everything that's going on right now.
Good call, Dutch.
Good call, Dutchy. And then around the grounds, we're talking about some of the games that took place on the weekend. We sort of mentioned the Cats absolutely destroying the Dockers.
Yeah.
So we had some close games, though, on the flip side. We had the
That
Swans.
game there, though, I just want to say something about the Dockers at Cardinia Park.
I still know what is
because
Cardinia
I
Park.
played my first game at Cardinia Park.
Well, there you go.
But that is hard. It is freaking hard to win down there when you're from any club in Australia, let alone when you got to fly from Perth all the way to Melbourne.
Is that where
and
that
then
flight
gets
came from?
the bus. The bus takes about 3 friggin' hours by the time you get on the bus and get your gear on and blah, 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 and drive down. It's only an hour and a quarter or hour and a half. But, the buses are slower and you've got to get all your gear on and all the rest of it. So it's 2.5 hours by the time you get down there, and then it's a long trip.
So we're cutting Freo some slack.
And then
Is
it's
that what you're
cold.
saying?
And then it's
They
cold.
don't call it Sleepy Hollow for nothing.
It's 35 degrees in Perth, and you go down there and it's 15, and you're going, geez, I don't even really want to be here. This is going to... And then they come out and they're good.
Yeah.
And they're good. And then they're 5 goals better or more down there.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
They could be up there again this year, I think, the Cats. They look really good at
They do.
Bailey Smith, the new
Yeah,
recruit.
what a great addition.
Absolutely
Yeah.
dominated.
Another headband. And, mate,
Another headband.
He kicked... I think he ended up
kicked
with
the
30
goal.
touches,
Kicked the
didn't he?
goal.
30 kicked the
Touches. I
goal
think
at
he
the
had
end.
12 score involvements.
He's
which
just
is
a strong.
amazing.
He's quick. He's a
Yeah.
strong runner, great ball user, and he fits into their demographic.
And he looks good doing it.
really well,
Doesn't he?
He does look very
Looks
good.
good doing
yeah,
it.
He's got
Yeah.
a good mo.
Mate, it's a headband.
You
Of
would
course
know. I
it's
think
gonna
we
look
should
good.
get Men for All Seasons back. He would be the pin-up boy.
He would be.
Yeah.
He would be January for sure.
January.
Definitely. Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
Had a close game there between the Swans and the Lions. Managed to get up. That was not too bad. The Lions mounting a premiership defence. The Doggies got over the line against North, as you would expect. Big win for your boys.
Yes.
The Crows, that looks good against the Saints. They're willing to spend, I think, $2 million.
They might be the one that just jumps up because
Smoky?
they've been threatening, haven't they, the last couple of years? And last year they were stiff, super stiff not to
Very.
make the 8. But they've just got some players coming up, the Phil Thorpes and these guys, and
Yep.
obviously Rankin's taking his game to the next level. There's some serious stuff going on in Adelaide at the moment, and there's
Yep.
a bit of a buzz around the joint from what I hear.
I mean, the Giants game.
That was a great game.
Yeah, that was a
great game. Yeah.
They're the real deal, Giants too, aren't they? Because
They're
that's
really good.
Yeah.
historically they've struggled against sides like that.
And
come
winning
down
at the
MCG
G. Yeah.
early in the year too.
This is
so,
their only game with the G.
For
Is
the
it?
year.
For the year before finals. That's it.
Well,
They're done.
that's good and bad.
That-
you don't
yeah.
get practice on that. you
They
know.
need to win. Yeah,
They're one and
exactly.
done.
Can I say I played in the first win ever for Fremantle at the MCG because they went, I don't know how many games, must have been like 15 games in a row and they hadn't won a game in the
And
MCG.
was that against Melbourne?
It was against Melbourne.
I remember this.
And Tony Modric kicked 10.
Wow.
Mate, it was one of the
Godra.
best displays
Godra.
of football that I've ever seen in my life. He was kicking them from, taking hangers, kicking them from everywhere. Kicked one in the boundary in the last quarter. Mate, unbelievable. He was a superstar.
Well,
that bloke.
speaking of Modra, where he was Adelaide, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Before he was Fremantle.
He was Adelaide,
That's
yeah.
right.
Now, they absolutely flogged St Kilda.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But St Kilda, worrying signs, they don't have a forward line. They've decimated by injury.
Yep.
What's this season looking like for Ross and the boys?
From what I saw, they're just not defending well. They've actually drafted and traded in all these guys that can use the ball well and they're quick, more outside players. And on their day, they can make stuff happen. And if you've seen their performances ebb and flow, on their day, they can beat the best sides. But, you know, if they don't get it right against the bottom sides, they can also lose to some of the bottom sides. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, whether they can click and get it going. But they look like they've got to pick up their defensive game. I get the feeling Ross Lyon is going to blow a head gasket and he's going to go back to his old ways. I reckon he even self-admitted that he's maybe
Too
going a
cuddly.
little bit too offensive, being a little bit too nice to the players, and he wants everything to be nice and rosy, a little bit like Fly.
He's just trying-
But
yeah.
Just be yourself,
Just be
Ross.
yourself,
just
Ross.
freaking give it to him.
You're
Go
son.
Ross
on,
the
Ross,
boss,
get in there,
mate.
son.
Just get it done.
But this is generally what happens when coaches or people in general, and I know this because I'm also a life coach, when they get under stress, they always resort to the default position of what they know. So the old behaviour patterns come up. That's why I agree. I think Ross is going to become very defensive.
Oh, I can see him get nasty
Constrictive.
again. Yeah, that's
Bringing
it.
the mongrel
Restrict the opposition, get a little bit harder, get a little bit angry, and hopefully we see the old defensive coach that we know.
That's it. Bring it back,
It's
Ross.
going to have to come back into the vengeance this week. They got the Cats. So that will be a pretty good test there. This game was an absolute cracker on Sunday between Melbourne and
Yes.
the Giants.
Right, cracking
who
game.
Are gonna,
I just turned it on when Melbourne were 2 or 3 goals in front in the third quarter, and I thought, geez, Melbourne are going well here. Like this looks good, and they just slowly started to grind their way back in the
was
game. And
brilliant.
they threw Toby Green into the
Unreal.
middle in the last quarter, and he just turned the game on its head. He's a
did.
star, that bloke, absolute
Unbelievable.
star.
There was a lot of ebb and flows in this game. It was, it was
Yeah.
an arm wrestle.
Yeah.
Good to have the track back.
Yes.
He performed really well, I thought,
Yeah,
for his
he
you know,
did.
very serious injury to be able
Absolutely.
to come back and deliver.
Yeah, no, good.
But that last passage of play where Keith kicked the goal, that they went from one end of the ground to the other, that
That's
was
right.
amazing ball movement. And to do
It
it on the
was.
G, where historically they're not that great, the Giants, was really good signs. They're the real deal this year, Dutch.
They're the real deal. You know, they're quick, they're hard. You know, they're very skillful. Their ball movement is electrifying.
In slippery conditions
and they're very
as well.
Good, they're a very good stoppage team too. So, yeah, slippery conditions again. That's right. It did rain on and off during the game. So, it just shows a lot of character for a side like that to come down here. You can tell that they're matured now and they're ready. So, you know, I didn't put him in my top 4, but I'm wishing that I had of now. Maybe Fremantle will finish 5th, and they'll finish 4th now.
potentially. And then we rounded up the game with what really was just a dead rubber. Gee, the Eagles were roadkill on the weekend against the
it's
Suns.
disappointing, isn't it?
Very
Really
disappointing.
Jeez, Calder would be like just going, what have I walked into here, wouldn't
What
he?
have I
Like right
inherited?
now,
Yeah.
and they're savage over there too. The
Yeah.
media, the Western Australian, they'd be absolutely into him. As
Yeah.
you know, you open the paper, even in the cricket season, and you'll open the back 4 pages are all on football,
Yeah.
even though it's cricket season.
Correct.
Imagine what would be happening over there to Paul McQualter right now. He would be copping an absolute hiding.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and they've recruited well, traded well.
Drafted
they
well.
finally look like they're in a position to compete, and they just haven't.
Yep.
But what does that say about the Suns quickly before we go?
Oh, it's hard to get a read on the Suns when they were playing against Witches Hats, but the Suns seem primed. I think that historically
They've
they
still got
struggled.
to travel. Like that's
They had
the
to
hardest
travel.
trip, other than the trip to
Getting on the bus, mate. Getting on the bus, and seeing all of the Geelong locals being very welcoming. Then this is probably the second hardest trip in
Yeah,
football.
the second hardest trip. It is a tough trip, and when you travel early in the year for whatever reason, because you're not conditioned to playing. Number one, you haven't played and you haven't travelled. It's all hard. It feels harder early on until you adjust to it
Right.
all, and then as you progress, because I've done it at Fremantle. First few games we could never win away, and then you adjust and you go, oh yeah, this is what we need to do. This is not what we need to eat. This is where we need to sleep. I've got to take my pillow from home, whatever the case may be, and you perfect it, and then you get better at it as the season goes on. So, you know, that's a good win regardless of how you look at it from the Gold Coast Suns.
Absolutely, it's a great. I mean, the Suns couldn't have asked for a better way to start the
No.
season with a win and
And a new logo.
a new logo, which is growing on me a little bit.
Yes, it's quite corporate,
It
but
is.
I think it's okay.
I keep looking
dawning
at it
on
and going,
me.
what is it? Who's that?
Yeah,
what
it
team is
reminds
it?
me of something of the
Oh,
Yat-
that's right, it's the Suns. And then but every time I look back at it, who's that?
It dawns on you, doesn't it?
It reminds me a bit of like Christopher Skase and the Mirage days.
Yeah.
You know, back when they had the casino.
Yeah, it is.
It's got that vibe.
Yeah, it's
You know,
got a-
injecting a bit of Skase back in the Gold Coast.
Oh my god. Well, speaking of injections, mate, I think we've injected quite a bit of excitement and enthusiasm into
You know a
this
lot about
footy
injections.
podcast.
You're an excellent supporter, mate.
Don't say that. It's too early,
Where are we on the ladder this week, though?
mate. Let's pull up the ladder. Let's pull up the ladder. Let's go
Let's
get the ladder.
get the ladder.
Mate,
Where are we on the ladder this week, Dutch? What have we got?
Oh, as a matter of fact,
Come on, coach.
We're actually number one again.
Oh.
Put this closer to your mouth.
We're number one again. Richmond Does Footy is at number 2.
Richmond does. Oh, let me.
wait.
That's
Richmond?
Does Footy
Let
is
me
at
tell a
number
story.
2.
That's Daniel Gorringe, who during the week he barracks for Carlton, and he's got his own podcast. I think it's called Dan Does Footy. But he said, if Richmond beat Carlton, I will change my name to Richmond. Now, this bloke, he's the ultimate shock jock, right? I'm going to put him on. He's got this thing called Fraud Watch. I'm putting him on Fraud Watch, righto? Because it doesn't matter. He'll just say anything's good for business. He'll say, I'll eat the football. And he's just going to get a response. It doesn't matter. He wins and wins. Absolute scam. He's number 2.
I've got a bit of a theory on Dan as well. Like, I don't even think he cares. Richmond, sorry. I don't think he even cares if Carlton win or lose at all. He's made everyone think that he loves the Blues. He does not. He hopes that they lose.
He's a fraud.
Because it's good for freaking business.
That's exactly right,
That's
Dutch.
right.
He's number 2.
He's number 2. He slid down from 1 to 2, obviously since we've come on board. Number 3 is Footy with Brodie and Kelly. I'm not sure who he is. 200 plus podcast at number 4. And Dylan Friends at number 5. Doing a great job as well.
How did we come with this ranking ladder system?
How did we come up with this? Is this legitimate?
Oh, yeah, I think it was. I think it was one of those Spotify McRae ratings.
I was wondering. I'm just like,
Spotify right there.
Well, congratulations, boys. We're number one.
number one.
Well
Two
done.
2 weeks in a row
Well
now.
done.
2 weeks in a row. Stay tuned, guys, for week number 3 to see whether or not we are still number 1. Spoiler alert, we'll always be number 1 because this is the No.1 Footy Podcast. Hope you enjoyed listening or viewing from this week, wherever you may be. Hit us a like, subscribe if you're new, notification bell, rate us 5 stars or 5 flies, wherever you want to call it on the fly rating.
That's right.
Because here we are number 1. Thanks so much, Dutchy.
Number one.
Number 1, coach.
Thanks, Joe.
4-time premiership coach. And we'll leave you all with Coach Cole's weekend wrap.
2025 well and truly alive, and Eagles still shit as Reed takes a dive. Nick with a bag and a loss for the Roos, and Tigers in a comeback win against Blues. Welcome back track and a flip to the back, and a 3-game ban for Scrimshaw Jack. And Giants and Hawks sitting pretty on top, and Lions over Swans, that's 2 they've lost. 4-goal debut for Murphy Reed, and Guinea celebrating like he's Mr. T. And Bailey kicked his first at the Cattery, and Carlton recruit Pierre Gasly. Let's cross to Ross the boss with the loss. I'd rather be me than Michael Voss. Pies over Port in an absolute rort. That's the AFL Weekend Wrap Report. Coach Cole with the weekend, Alex Steele Bullard. Coach Cole with the weekend wrap. Shout out to the Warrandyte Football Club. Coach Cole with the weekend, Benny Doolan. Coach Cole with the weekend wrap.